Welcome to Screens in Focus, the podcast where we talk about TV and movies. I'm Diana, and today we are talking about music videos, those mini movies that shape our music experience. Renee is back to join me. Hi, Renee. How are you?
Hello, I'm well. How about you?
I'm great. I'm so glad that you're back to talk with me about music because I know that that is something in common that we both really love.
Yes.
And different decades that we really appreciate. So, we're going to talk about the impact of a lot of the music videos that we see in the 80s, outside of the 80s, and just some of our top favorite music videos. So, we're going to dig in. And we're going to start with our question of the day. And we want our friends out there to think about this question and answer with us, along with us also. And the question of the day is, what is your all-time favorite music video? Okay, your all-time favorite music video. So think about that, Renee. Friends out there, think about that. We're going to answer that a little bit later on. But Renee, what I also want to know is, what is a music video that the first one that you recall, or maybe something that had an impression on you?
Well, I remember the day that MTV came out, and I think my mom was watching it when it launched, but and it was like midnight, right? So we were in bed. But I remember that first days or whatever. I did the one video that I really remember, like almost like the first one that I remember, is Brass in Pocket by the Pretenders. And it was like in like a little diner, and like there's a part where they say special, special kind of thing, and the guys hold up the special, like on the lunch or the menu or whatever. And I just really remember that one for some reason. When I read that question, I was like, that's the first one that popped into my head.
There's so many. I don't remember that one in particular. And as you said that, all of these are running through my head. So, and it's really hard for me to pick just one. But I think when I think back, when I think MTV, like when it started, when we were first watching them all, this is not my favorite one. And I know it's a very popular one, but the one that I think of is Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel. It's considered one of the very best, with the train going around his head and everything. So, that reminds me of one of the first ones that I recall seeing repeatedly.
Yeah.
You were talking about when MTV first started. And so that was in 1981. I believe it was August. I don't recall if it was the 31st or the 1st.
I think it's the first, I think.
The first, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in 1981, that, transformed the music industry because videos became a part of pop culture. And the very first music video was Video Killed the Radio Star by, is it the Bugles? Do you know? Is it Bugles? Okay.
Yeah, or is it Buggle?
Buggles? I don't even know, because I think they are not from the US. They were from the UK possibly.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, and I don't recall anything else that they did, but that one is so iconic.
Yeah.
And they had written it as a direct response to the rapid changing technology and its direct effect on society, which I think is so here we are, all these decades later, and it's the same.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they felt it was rapidly changing then, and it's like, oh my gosh, they could have foreseen what it is like now.
Right.
It's very crazy. So, and we've seen it influence fashion and dance and just trends. I know that with TikTok, there's a lot of dance trends, music trends that come on. So it's really had such an impact.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it did all start in the 80s. So I would love to know what you feel are some game-changing videos from the 80s.
Well, first ones that come to mind, because Duran is my favorite all-time band. They're just always going to be my favorite. And so they were very innovative in bringing like the mini movies. They were the first ones to really pioneer that. And like well, actually, they had done Girls on Film prior to MTV releasing, or right at the time it was releasing, and it was so risque that they had to censor it, number 1, and they had a daytime Girls on Film video and a nighttime one video.
Wow.
It was that controversial, but Hungry Like the Wolf was kind of the one that really, like, put that they had that little through the jungle, and I think they filmed it in, like, Sri Lanka or somewhere, and it was, so that one, and then, like, of course, Thriller, which was another mini movie, so I think that, a lot, and there's many of them that were filmed that way, and I loved that was, it was just such a another like, as a family that listened to music all the time. My
Yeah.
mom always had music in the car. MTV was always on, that kind of thing. But before MTV, it was just the radio or a
Yeah.
record or it was cassette something. But this gave another layer to that love of music, and so now we had a visual to go along, like readily
Yeah.
available. Like, sure, there were videos before this, music videos, but MTV put that out there for us. And so then when these artists started making these little movies, it was like, what the heck? I'm watching this like movie to this song now. And so it was just really transformative to see those. So I think those are 2 of them that were really, game changing because it influenced so many going forward. And I also had Sledgehammer down. It's funny that you mentioned that because so Peter Gabriel, he was formerly I think he was the lead singer for Genesis. Back when I don't remember when the 70s or whatever, but that video featured claymation, pixelation, and stop motion, all of those different things. And I think I read once that he had to lay under plexiglass for like 16 hours to film that thing
Oh
or
my
something.
gosh.
That was some crazy thing. I don't remember exactly, but one really interesting thing about Sledgehammer Video is in 1987, the video won 9 MTV Music Awards and still to this day holds the record for the most MTV Music Awards won for a single video.
Wow. I got chills.
I know. And I just think it's crazy because there's been lots of
Right.
things after that. You
Right.
know what I mean? And there's been many innovative, I mean, just all the stuff that's come, since then. But it's just that I thought that was very impressive.
I love all those tidbits or all those statistics you came up with or looked up, giving our friends out there some background on all
Yeah,
of
give a
that.
little
So
trivia, useless
yeah,
trivia,
trivia. Yeah.
I always feel like that. I'm like full of all this useless knowledge, but
No. No, I love it. It's so good. I love that.
another one that I really liked was Walk This Way with Aerosmith and Run DMC.
Yeah.
Because that was, to me, that was like this rock and roll versus hip hop, rap, whatever. But
Yes.
then they come
Yes.
together and make this, and it really, well, it re-brought Aerosmith back around, but it also pushed Run DMC more,
Yeah.
like in their hip hop community, they were huge, but like to the mainstream, not so much. And so now they were like, oh, look, hey, who's Run DMC? And everybody's, listening to them.
Yeah.
Such a cool collaboration. And so I always thought that was one that really kind of stuck out in my mind. And then I'll give you one more that was really controversial and all this stuff. It's I Want to Break Free by Queen. And that video was actually banned in the US because they cross-dressed, which Americans wouldn't know. It was a parody on a British soap opera is what they were doing. But the Americans didn't know that. And so then they were just like, what are these guys doing? And all this kind of stuff. But it's such a fun video. And I just, I never knew, like, I don't think I ever really saw it all till later in life. I don't remember seeing it as, when it was popular because of, being banned, I guess would make sense. But it was interesting to learn that trivia about it later on, because
Yeah.
I love Queen, and I always think, they just do such outrageous things, and again, very innovative and with all their music and things that they do. But yeah, so I thought that was a really interesting little tidbit there, because then you think about other controversial videos that were played during the time. That
Right.
was nothing. They were just dressed as women. It was no
Right.
big,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so it was just funny that's the one that got banned.
So I'm going to step back when you were talking about Run DMC
Mhm.
and Aerosmith collaborating, it reminded me of when Eddie Van Halen played on Michael Jackson's song,
Yeah.
because I remember that collaboration and thinking, oh my gosh, this is huge. This is 2 different genres,
Mhm.
in the same video, and I thought that that was so
Mhm.
cool too, and
Yeah.
so, yes, I love when they did things like that.
Yeah.
And you had also brought up Thriller, which was huge. It was such a cultural moment. It was directed by John Landis. It was 14 minutes long,
Yeah.
so it was a huge cinematic event, and I think it might be lost on younger generations a little bit because they've, seen it, they've seen others, and other people have done similar things. Not everybody
Yeah.
can and will do that, but I remember watching that and thinking, "What am I watching? This is like," because you would just watch a song being sang, and either the band was playing, it was different shots of them, but it was never like a
Mhm.
actual movie. Like, there was a storyline, and there was a dance, and there was these costumes, and they were zombies, and it was just incredible, all of
Mhm.
it, and of course, we all know Thriller and that dance and how what a moment that was and how people still do it to this day.
Oh,
It's
yeah. Mhm.
known. It's like everybody knows what that is, and if
Mhm.
people don't really know, they know of it. They
Yeah.
know that it looks familiar and that had to do something with Michael Jackson back in the day. But I also loved so many of and I also think it was because Michael Jackson was so big in
Mhm.
that era, but Billie Jean was really huge at that time. People loved it. Now, I loved Billie Jean. I loved the song. I loved anything Michael Jackson, but I actually liked Beat It more than I liked Billie Jean, and I the video I'm talking about
Mhm.
here, and I think it's because in Beat It, there was more dance choreography in it,
Yeah.
and they were, like, fighting each other as they were dancing, which was like West Side Story in a
Yes.
way, and so it picked up, the elements from that movie and did it here, so for me, I thought both of those were very, very iconic,
Mhm.
and also, the '80s can't go by without talking about Madonna,
Mhm.
and she had so many videos that were like I may have not mentioned, but I meant to mention Vogue because
Oh,
that
yeah.
also became much more than just the song. But the one that I wanted to bring up was Like a Prayer
Oh, yeah.
because it tackled it was very bold, it was controversial
Mhm.
because it had to do with race and religion and just so much, and she was just that artist who wasn't afraid to say what she thought or
Mhm.
do what she wanted, and which was like, "What is happening here?" Because most of the time, people just wanted you to listen to their music and watch your videos, so they were sure, they push boundaries, everybody
Mhm.
was trying to push boundaries,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think her for being a woman, it was just kind of like woman empowerment for her and for
Yeah.
all of us watching, so and also Take On Me by
Oh,
AHA,
yeah,
that
for sure.
was yes, because that was a blend of live action and pencil
Mhm.
sketch animation, so, going into that fantasy world and, we're just watching it. I didn't realize the work that went into so many
Mhm.
of these until afterwards
Right.
as I was researching and looking at all of them and how much had an impact. And I do also want to bring up Janet Jackson and Rhythm Nation,
Mm.
because even though that was a little bit further closer to the end of the '80s and heading into the '90s, that was such a time for her
Yeah.
where she was coming out and just becoming, her own person and her own artist. And Rhythm Nation was so iconic because the dance moves were so much precision
Yeah.
and their outfits and her outfit her outfit is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I think is very cool
That's really
too.
cool, yeah.
That's my tidbit
Good tidbit, yeah.
on that song. But I also wanted to bring up a few fun ones,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna share my fun ones, and maybe if you have any fun ones that come across your as you're thinking, but one is the Go-Go's, Our Lips Are Sealed, because they're just driving in a car, convertible, driving in LA, Los Angeles, down the road, just singing in this and of course, there was no seatbelts at the time, so they were just sitting
Yeah.
wherever on the back, up up on the back of the car, and they show them in a fountain, and I read somewhere that that was not planned, and they were not supposed to be in the fountain, but they got in the fountain because it was a really hot day. It was in the 90s or something at the time, and so they just jumped in the fountain and filmed it.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, so I thought that that was a fun one. Me, I'm a huge Journey fan,
Mhm.
and there's so many Journey songs and music videos I love, but for some reason, Separate Ways sticks in my head, and it's just them on some dock, but it's the way they're singing into the camera, and it's almost like a fish lens in a way, and I don't know, there's something about it that just hooks me in, and I wanna keep watching them. Maybe it's Steve Perry's voice, I don't know. And then there's also Whitesnake with
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Here I Go Again, with what's her name?
Tawny
Tawny?
Katane.
Yeah, Tawny Katane, and she's on that car. Oh my gosh, can't forget about her
That
on
always
that car.
that reminds you of the song, and he's like, she was gonna shake her on the hood of White Snake's car in that song. I can't think of the name of the song right now, though.
I can't either right
It
now.
sounds like a parody song. Oh my gosh. I think it's like 1985, I think is what the song's called, but it's going through talking about the mom and how you know, she's got 2 kids in high school, and they tell her she's uncle because she's still preoccupied with 1985 is the other lyrics,
Ah,
and then
uh-huh,
it goes through this, like, she thought she was gonna get her hands on the member of Duran, and they list all these different things, but one
right.
of their things in there is and she was gonna shake her, rear end on the hood of Whitesnake's car, and so
That's fun.
you have to
I
listen to
know.
the song because it's really funny.
Yeah. I probably have heard of it. I probably heard of it, I just can't think of it right now. Another artist that I felt when I was watching MTV, because we would gather around friends, we would just go to people's houses and put on the TV and hang out, and that's what we were watching.
Yeah.
But I remember Van Halen, so many of their songs on MTV and their videos, and one is Hot for Teacher, which parts of it I know, parts of it, I'm like, "Okay, there's kids in this video, and they're watching this woman." I mean, she's wearing clothes, but still.
Apparently.
Yeah, barely. Barely is right. But, okay, besides that part, it's pretty funny, and it's just having these kids in the show. I don't know, it's bad.
And they're dressed just like the members of Van Halen. I love how they're all
Oh my gosh. I don't
yeah,
know
that
if
would
that's
never fly today, that's for sure.
no, but I don't know if this is the video or not. I've seen so many videos recently. But I think is that the one where they're all dressed in suits and all the members of Van Halen are dancing? I think they have orange suits or something, all dancing in the background, and they're so funny because they're off and they're not the greatest dancers, but it is hilarious watching them doing it. Like, they're like, "Hey, we're gonna go get up here and we're gonna dance together." And it's pretty funny. And I do wanna mention Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Wanna Have Fun, Pat Benatar, and Blondie.
Yeah.
There's so many more. Anything else did you wanna mention that was fun
Well,
that you recall?
when you said Cyndi Lauper, it made me think of the Goonies video because it's like that's a little story too because, like, she has all those at the time it was what was the WWF, right? World Wrestling Foundation. That's when, back then. And there's a lot of iconic professional wrestlers in that video. And then they find a thing in the wall and then they do this. And then the Goonies are there, and everything. And so it's, that I just love that video too because it's so much fun. But that one, yeah, popped in my head when you said her name.
Yeah, there's so many. I know I'm forgetting a lot of people, but just so
Yeah.
many. Walk Like an Egyptian, I remember that one, and what is her name? She is Dreams Are Made of These.
Oh,
Uh,
Eurythmics by Annie Lennox.
Annie Lennox. I can't help but thinking about Annie Lennox because is it Sweet Dreams Are Made of
Yeah,
These? That's
Sweet
the
Dreams, and I
lyric.
think in parenthesis, made of these or something, yeah, but Sweet Dreams,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, they always had great songs, yeah.
they did. They
Yeah.
did have great songs. Very cool. Okay, we could live
Yes.
in the '80s, you
We
and
could
I.
sit here all night and talk.
We could keep talking about them, sing it, everything else. But I want my MTV. Anyways, oh my God, that song too. It has some lyrics in there,
Yeah.
but I love that song.
I
Like,
know.
damn it. All right. So I do want to move a little bit forward into the 90s, 2000s, because things have changed. Music has changed. How we get our music changed. What music videos outside of the 80s have you seen resonate with you? You think have an
Um,
impact? And if you do have any, are there any tiebacks to
mhm,
any of the earlier ones?
mhm. Well, I think, one thing that was, like the 80s were over, the 90s started, and all of a sudden grunge is the thing. And it's like, I feel like they try to do complete opposite of what okay, the '80s did this, then we're gonna do that, just because they were setting themselves apart, and it was such a different sound than what we had
Yeah.
heard all throughout the '80s, even though it did change throughout the '80s, but it was still pretty similar, so then here you get the '90s grunge rock, and it's like their videos were dark and, just very minimalist, and the music was amazing, it was just a
Yeah.
fun new era of music, but the videos were, like, stripped down, we didn't get I mean, there still were some that, were very artsy and kind of things like that, but for the most part, a lot of, like Nirvana and even like Soundgarden and stuff that, a lot of their videos, I guess Soundgarden kind of did some fun stuff with theirs too, but like even like Pearl Jam, a lot of times it was just them, or whatever. And so it was, yeah, quite a change from what we saw in the
Mhm.
80s. And not, good or bad, they're both just different styles, but it was like, whoa, this is very different. So it really got our attention because
It
it was
did.
so different. Yeah. It was just like this, we hit a wall and flipped over and it went completely in a different direction.
Well, with Nirvana, "Smells Like Teen Spirit" came out in 1991, and it is exactly what you said. It was because it is about rebellion
Yeah.
and anti-establishment, and that's what was happening in the '90s, and that their particular music video is on a very top list of a lot because I was researching a lot of lists. They were on top of a
Mhm.
lot of lists, and it was just because it was so cool. I
Yeah.
mean, it just was. They were so cool. I think when you match or sometimes you don't even have to do a lot when you already have the music and this I don't know if it's intensity, I don't know if it's charisma, I don't
Mhm.
know if it's just chemistry or just the magic of them playing, but it transcends and you can feel it, and that is what happened with them, I think, in this. Plus, the setting was a basketball like a high school
Gymnasium, yeah.
yeah, of some sort, so, you're putting this in with that, and
Yeah.
that already right there, you're like I'm sure parents were like, "What? Not my high school, what are you doing?"
And I think the cheerleaders' outfits even had, like, anarchy symbols on 'em maybe or something. I feel like that
Uh,
was, because I think they were, like, in black, just making everything opposite of what the norm was, and that's, again, just like in the beginning of MTV, everything was innovative at that point because we didn't see a lot of videos. They were
yeah,
making videos, but they weren't readily available to us. So in the '80s, like, "Oh, wow, this is all brand new." Then the '90s go, "Oh, wait, now this is brand new," and so it grabs your attention, and it's always fun to have something new, especially for people who love music, you don't
yeah.
I mean, I listen to a lot of the same stuff over and over, but I mean, it's fun to find new sounds and new types of music and things. And yeah, and Nirvana was just like kind of like the forefront of leading that whole thing.
Yeah. Are there any others that come to mind for you?
Well, I was like, then later we had like the boy bands, like a very different boy band that did a lot of the dancing, the
Yeah.
choreography and things were it was just fun, and I didn't listen to a lot of it. My daughter was kind of growing up in that era and stuff, and so she was a huge NSYNC fan and that kind of thing. But yeah, so that was always fun to watch them and like the dancing because it was just so well done, and so I
Yeah.
thought that was good, and, like, I also thought about, like, Lady Gaga. I loved her Judas video. I loved that video. It was just so fun, and again, the dancing. I mean, it's like I'm not a person that can, like cannot do those choreography, that's not my wheelhouse. But it's so fun to watch that because it's just timed so well and they're so talented and stuff. And so I thought those kind of came to my mind as real fun things. And I don't listen to a lot of real modern music. And so I don't know a lot of, and I really guess I don't see a lot of videos, newer videos. And so,
I want to say so many things because I do want to say, with you saying I don't see a lot of videos, I think that was the impact of MTV and what it gave us. And the fact that we all had to, you and I and other people from a certain time had to watch ATV to
yeah.
get a lot of things, or else you were listening to a radio, right? We didn't have laptops and computers at that
Mhm.
time. So it gave us this time to sit around TV with other people or whatever it was and watch it. And a lot of times the shows were ongoing. That's all you would see
Mhm.
was all these music videos. And like I said, when I'd go to friends' house, that's what we would watch. And then as time went on, you see YouTube videos, and now it's on snippets on TikTok. You can see them
Yeah.
very quickly. So you get it in a different way. And with YouTube, there are millions and billions of watches on them. Just
Yeah.
that sometimes you don't know or I don't know, right? Because you don't think about it and it's not a place for us to get together, or it's not on TV at a certain time where you think, you know what, I'm going to watch the show because it's going to show us all these videos. So, it's a little more, I don't
Mhm.
know, fragmented in a way,
Yeah.
right? It's like you have to go search for it. And
Mhm.
the only thing that I can say, unless there's something that I'm not thinking of, unless it's TikTok, but you have to go search for it, right? But
Right.
what if you don't know about it?
Mhm.
You won't search for it. Where I think when we had MTV, it was fed to us. It
Yeah.
was like,
Constant.
this is what's
24 hours.
happening.
Yeah.
This is
24
what's
hours a day.
happening. And you're like, what? What? Oh, I like that. I don't like that. Whatever it is. So, and same thing with television. We had to watch it. We were exposed to it. We
Yeah.
saw it. There's things we love that we saw. There's things we didn't like that we saw. But again, now you choose what you're going to go watch.
Mhm.
You're going to choose to watch something on Netflix or Apple Plus TV or wherever you're at. But sometimes you don't get to experience new things or things that are out of your norm because you just don't think about it. It doesn't
Yeah.
come to mind. So I think that's a little bit kind of a bummer for people now because, yeah, they just have to figure it out a different way. But as you were talking about boy bands, I was thinking about that too. I had those on my list. I had Backstreet Boys, which I was a fan of the Backstreet Boys, but I know that I Want It That Way was so popular and pervasive in the late 90s that Blink 182 did a parody on it, and it was equally iconic, and that was their All the Small Things,
Yeah.
so their video. So I thought that that was interesting that here Backstreet Boys was super popular with theirs, and then Blink-182's all, "Hey, let's do a takeoff on that," and they got, that that was popular for
Mhm.
them. And also, like you had mentioned, In Sync, was it Bye Bye Bye? Is that the one with the puppets? I can't even remember now. I've seen so many of In
I
Sync.
think that's the puppet one.
Yeah. Now, I didn't read this, but I just thought I remember this. I thought the whole reasons of the puppets was when, their manager, what's his
Yeah, with
face?
something to
Lou
yeah, like
Pearlman, because he was so much in control of them and they were finally getting out
choreographed,
of those
yeah.
punches, which is a really good documentary on Netflix, by the way, if you want to check that out, about him and how he controlled so many of the boy bands back
Mhm.
then. But anyway, and also currently BTS is so huge. They have billions of views on their YouTube on Dynamite specifically. And if you go watch it, it was interesting to watch it because I wanted to see. I heard the song, but
Mhm.
I had to watch their music video. So I went and watched it, and I loved the visuals. They were so good. It was pastels and it was them dancing, and it would highlight each member of the band, sing a few lines. So it reminded me of the Backstreet Boys and probably others before them. So I thought it was kind of cool to see that. And they were really good singers, really good dancers. You could tell they all had their own personalities. And I loved cinematography and music videos. It was really well done. So that was the link that I saw to a little bit older videos. And I do want to mention Billie Eilish is huge, and I really am a fan of her and her work, and also Lady Gaga, Telephone featuring Beyonce. That is one of the coolest newer, well, it's not that new, but newer to me and maybe you. That was such a cool music video. And if you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. It's like it's a mini movie. And Lady Gaga's so good.
Yeah.
Bad Romance,
Mhm.
so many others. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of hers. And I actually like a music video with her and Bruno Mars with that current song that they have. I don't know if you've heard of that song, Die with a Smile.
Mm.
Have you heard of the song, Renee?
Mhm.
Okay. It's newer. It's not very old, like I think a couple months old, but it's a video with her and Bruno Mars, and it's a throwback, and it's just her and a piano and him singing. Oh, it's so good. It's not like a mini movie or iconic, it's just them 2 singing, but both their voices
Mm,
and Bruno
yeah,
Mars.
I bet.
Yeah, he's so good. Now Bruno Mars is also in a duet with Rosé, who is a part of, Blackpink. I think
Mm.
she's yeah. That is so catchy on APT. It's APT. Have you seen this one? Have you
Nope.
okay.
Okay,
Homework.
I've got some homework to do, yes.
Just look at Bruno Mars and his collaborations because he's in both of those. You
Okay.
know, over here he's with Rosé and over here he's with Lady Gaga, and he's amazing, but they are amazing too. And both those songs are so good for 2 different reasons. The one with Rosé is catchy,
Mhm.
very catchy, and the visuals are fun. It's more like a fun catchy, where the one with Lady Gaga is more heartfelt and ballady.
Mhm.
So it depends on which one you're looking for. So, but and then I do want to mention Despacito with Luis Fonsi because that has 8.6 billion views on YouTube.
Yes. That's crazy.
I know, isn't it? It's like, wow. Okay. Oh, we didn't mention Beyonce, Single Ladies.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That was huge. I mean, it's just them 3
Yeah.
just doing a dance, black and white. I think it's black and white. It's very minimal.
Yeah.
I mean, Beyonce has a lot of videos, but that one to me, I you can't help it. Everybody's doing it
Yeah.
all over the place,
And it's been parodied
recreating it.
by so many
Yes,
people in different
yes,
ways and things, yeah.
yes, yes. So I love that. And then also we have to bring up Britney Spears
Mhm.
because at the time when she was so popular, Baby One More Time, it was just sort of her breakout
Yeah.
from I think Disney and everything else. And
Yeah, I think, yeah, that
so
would break free
and
from that image and
yes, exactly,
right?
exactly, and she had so many others besides that. I think one of my son's girlfriends said, "What is the song?" Oh, Womanizer.
Mm, yeah.
She's like, "Whoa," I think that when I said, "Oh, what is a music video that, like, had an impact on you or
Mm.
just made you go like, 'Oh my gosh,'" she said that one. So, there's so many out there that have had an impact on fashion, and did you ever do any fashions from the '80s that you saw on video by
Oh,
chance?
yeah, that's I mean, I feel like we constantly watched looking for, like, ways to do different things, and I remember one thing I just popped into my head. So George Michael, I wanna
Oh, George
he
Michael.
yeah, I know, he just popped in my head.
Yeah.
So I think it might have been his Faith video, and with the 2
Yeah.
rocks and that, and he had this earring with a cross hanging from it.
Yes.
Yep, I immediately did that. I remember that was, like, one thing I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm totally doing that. That's so cool." And it was just this big hoop with a cross hanging from it. But, yeah, we always watch to see what, Cyndi Lauper was wearing and Madonna and,
Yeah.
the the O-rings. We wore those, Madonna had them like that thick, and we just had them like that. Just all the different things, the skirts and the little leggings,
Yes.
the little booties. I had like several pair of those little booty things, and trying to mimic their outfits. And I mean, even a lot of the bands like Duran, for instance, they dressed very effeminate, and so it was like, well, we can just copy what they're doing,
Yeah.
and so yeah, so I loved, that was one thing that was, I think I had that in my notes earlier and forgot to mention it, but yeah, we definitely watched and like, oh, look what they're doing, oh, look what they're
Yeah.
wearing, and yeah,
Mhm.
so it was very impactful in that way also.
I remember watching those videos with Madonna and copying what she was wearing. You wanted to wear what they were wearing and just be on trend with everybody else, and I'm so glad you brought up George Michael because he was so
Oh,
impactful too.
yeah, I loved him, yeah.
Yeah, and I love Duran. I didn't say that earlier when you were saying that was one of your that was one of my favorites too.
Mhm.
I really did love them in that era. All right,
Yes.
we are gonna get to our top 3 music videos, okay? I would love to know, Renee, what are your 3 favorite music videos?
Well, this was very, very difficult to pinpoint into 3, but I went with "Hungry Like the Wolf" by Duran because I just thought that was so amazing, and "Hot for Teacher" by Van Halen because
Oh,
I just remember that as a kid, and we laughed, and there's, like, the jargon at the beginning where they're talking, and we it was just I just remember that very fondly, and then "I Wanna Break Free" by Queen because it was just I think part of it was the fact I didn't see it till later in life. I was like, "What is this? This is amazing," and so, yeah, so that's my top 3, at least today, that's my answer.
right, right. Oh, God, you're killing me, you're killing me. So and I love that because your 3 are not 3 that I would have really thought about, and it's so funny that you said "Hot for Teacher." That is crazy.
When you started talking, I was like, that's one of
I
mine."
love it. I love that we talked about it and then you brought it. Okay, I'm just gonna answer this. Oh, man. Okay, so my top 3 would be Michael Jackson, Thriller, Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody. Wow, that was I love it. Love it,
Yeah,
love it, love it. It's huge.
yeah.
It's so big. And then I'm having trouble here. I think I'm going to say Madonna, uh, Like a Prayer.
Mhm.
Oh, wait. Yeah. I like Papa Don't Preach.
Oh, yeah, I love that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
I
great
kinda
one.
like Papa Don't Preach. Oh my gosh. Okay, just Madonna, all right?
Anything Madonna. In 1980s and Madonna, that's
Oh, exactly, exactly. So,
it is
I don't
hard.
yeah, it's so hard. It is. It's very, very hard. So,
Mhm.
all right. With all of that, we are gonna get back to our question of the day. And so our question of the day is, what's your all-time favorite music video? So friends out there, think about that. And then I'm gonna ask Renee if it's maybe one of the ones she's mentioned, or maybe it's something different. I don't know. So Renee, share with all of us, what is your all-time favorite music video?
Well, as much as I wanna say a Duran video, I put that in my 3, but my like, if you wanna, like, completely all-time favorite, it has to be Thriller because going back to what you said, it was when I remember like Thriller's on, the MTV is playing, you walk out of the room and everybody's yelling Thriller's on. And so you ran back in because you had to see it again because you just couldn't, like you said, you couldn't believe what you were watching. This is a music video and there's dialogue and there's a story and you got,
Yeah.
Vincent Price in the background. And
Yes, yes.
there was just so much going on from the dance routine and then the undead guys all over and girls everywhere. It was just so fun. And so I think if I'm gonna like say one all time, it has to be Thriller.
And I have to agree with you. I could say another one, and I this was the other thing that I wanted to say. I actually really loved the video, "The Way You Make Me Feel."
Mhm,
That was one of my favorite videos of his one of his favorite
mhm.
songs. They're all my favorite songs, so who am I kidding?
Michael Jackson.
But what I'm saying is I really did like that video and that
Mhm.
story and watching all of that. He had a lot other videos that were really we didn't even touch upon.
Mhm.
But how do you get away from something so iconic as
Mhm.
Thriller? Because like you said, we would run to the TV anytime we saw it, and yes, it had all that it had. Vincent Price, it had them turning into zombies, and then I love the ending when he comes up to her and his voice, it's all sweet, and she looks at him, she's not afraid, and then they start to walk away, and then he turns around and looks at us. I'm like, "Oh my god, that is so good."
Yeah, that was great, yeah. It's just iconic.
Yeah. The one thing I wanna bring up to people because and I think this is probably adds to all of that at the time, but I remember when Michael Jackson was on, the award shows, and I don't know if you were I'm thinking you probably do remember this, but do you remember when he was on was it a Grammys or a Motown special? I can't remember what it was when he was with all his brothers and they all sang, and then he had that iconic moment when he stepped away from being with his brothers, and that was the first time he ever did the moonwalk on television. Do you remember that?
I remember it, but I can't I wanna say it's the Grammys, but I don't 100% know, but yes, I absolutely remember that. I mean,
Yeah.
that was like, we're all just like, "What's he doing?"
Yes.
I mean, it was mind-blowing.
Well, I think people don't know, like,
Mhm,
they didn't get to experience that
mhm,
because I remember me and my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, we were, young when that was happening. And I remember we both like sat up in our chair and we're like, our mouths dropped. We're like, oh my God, what's happening? And you could feel this intensity and this
mhm,
it was like it was our minds were blown. Our minds were blown. People were like, "What is he doing across the stage?" And it was like something just so epic. Because, like I said, he was breaking free. He'd always been with his brothers. He'd always sang with his brothers, and now he's like, "No, I'm doing my own thing. Here I am. Here I come. This is what I'm giving you. This is my voice. This is my talent. I'm
mhm,
giving everything that I have here." And it was just an amazing time. So I just think that also what he brought to
mhm.
his art, his craft, he gave it all to us. He left it on the
Yeah,
dance floor, the music floor, whatever, the stage. I was not ever fortunate to see him live, which
yeah,
I don't even know how that happened. I don't know if he never came to my city or something. I don't know what it was, but I am so sad about that
yeah.
because I have seen Janet Jackson 3 times, but
Really? That's
yeah, in the
fun.
early '90s, I did see her during Rhythm Nation and all
Mhm.
of that, but I have seen her. All right, friends out there, we would love to know what is your all-time favorite music video because there are so many out there and we know we only covered a certain amount of them. So please share it with us. You can get to us, leave a comment here if you're watching us on YouTube or on Spotify, or if you want to just get to our social media at Screens in Focus, or you can go to screensinfocus.com and get to all of our social media there. And you can even call us at 669-223-8542. That number is also in our show notes along with our website because we would love to know what your favorite music video is.
Yeah.
All right. So I love that we talked about this, Renee. It was so much fun because they are like mini movies, so much entertainment, so much art, so much creativity. So, and such a time capsule
Mhm.
of all those things. So, thank you for talking with me about that. And please be sure to check out the following podcast episode where we are going to talk about movie soundtracks. That
Yeah.
will be fun too, because we love music, the most,
Mhm.
both of us. Okay, before we close out this episode, Renee, I would love to know if you have any TV or movie recommendations.
Oh, I guess oh, wow, let's see. Gosh. I started watching Tulsa King because it's been on our list forever. Oh my gosh, what an amazing show. I can't like, we're only maybe 4 or 5 episodes in. I'm like, "This is fantastic."
Yes.
This is like th like, I can't even explain how good he is in this, Sylvester Stallone is in this show, so if you haven't watched Tulsa King, yes, definitely watch that. We finished The Landman, that
Oh,
the other Taylor Sheridan. Have you watched that one yet?
I have, but I'm not done yet. I'm a little bit behind, but I'm getting close to being done, I
Yeah,
think.
that one I couldn't stop. Like, it was like, come on, come on. I kept waiting. You had to wait every week for the new episode. And I want to say that's one of Taylor Sheridan's best. I
Wow.
I mean, I haven't watched all of his stuff, but like the more recent things, I would put like 1883 as my top, and then
Me too.
Landman is yeah. I just loved. I don't know if just his writing isn't crazy. It's just so good,
Yeah,
you know.
it is, it is.
And and you'll I haven't talked to you for a while. I finished Lost finally. I finally watched all of Lost for the first time, people. First time watcher. How many years later? And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I had no problem with the ending, which I
Really? Oh my gosh. I was so irritated with the last, like, season or whatever it was. I'm
oh
like,
yeah, I read after I was done. I read a lot of things, and I guess my thing is I liked a lot of it being left to my imagination. I liked a lot of it left for me to decide. Okay, what happens to everybody, And I read some really good articles where they kind of broke down some things, and so anyway, I was happy with it. I was fine with it, and only murders in the building.
"Oh, yeah.
I hadn't watched that one again. I've had these on my list forever.
Oh, nice."
Yeah, so I'm on season I think I'm in season almost done with season 3, I believe. Because I think there's 4 seasons, aren't there? I
I
think.
think so, yeah.
But I've told people who they're like, "Oh, how do you like it?" I'm like, "Well, to me, to put it into a box, it's Knives Out meets Clue." That's kind of how I put it. And
Yeah,
and so my daughter said, "Oh, now I wanna watch it," but so
yeah.
anyways, those are, like, the most recent things. I know there's been several other because 'cause we've really watched a lot of TV more than movies lately, but those are the ones I've really been enjoying, and I know some of them are way old, but that's where I'm at.
I love it. I love it. I think those are solid recommendations because
Good.
I love every single one of them. All right, so my recommendations are Severance. Season 2 is back on Apple Plus TV. It is have you seen it at all?
Oh, because and that's another one that's on the list.
It is like it'll blow your mind. I will tell you because I know you'll probably will watch it because 'cause you're a person who does follows through eventually, right, when it comes out.
Sorry.
But the first episode, the first few episodes, you're so confused, and you're like, "Do I what the heck is going on?" But once you get to a certain point and you kinda realize what's really happening, you're like, "Oh my god." And then you still can't keep up. You're like, "What? What?" Like, your mind is like, "Ah, what's happening? Can I" there's so many theories. You're like, "Oh." And I love it because you're clutching at, "Oh, that could be true, that could be true," because it's all, like, mind-bending stuff,
Mhm.
which is so fun
Yeah.
and cool. It just shows how well written this
Mhm.
show is. So I highly recommend it, but yes, your mind will be blown. Night Agent season 2 is out. I'm almost done with season 2. It's really good, and that's on Netflix. It's just a really solid show. So I really like that. Okay, I'm late to this one next one. The next one is Vikings season 6, and I'm almost done. Did you see this?
No,
Or no?
I have not watched this at all, yeah.
It is so damn good. I can't me and my husband, like, don't wanna go to bed, because we watch it on Saturday nights. Because that's when we watch the same thing, and we, like or keep watching and watching and watching, and, like, people are dying, people are being killed, people are undermining other people, and kinda it's not like Game of Thrones, but, sort of
Mhm.
that whole family and trying to be, but it's based on historical
Yeah.
people and,
Mhm.
events and such. So, we're almost done with that, which I'm really gonna be really, 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 really sad because it's
Yeah,
very good. It's very violent, but it's very good. I also saw American Primeval on Netflix.
we watched that.
It's so good, right?
God,
So good.
that incredible, incredible.
I'm so glad you said that because I am like, because some people were like,
Yeah,
whatever. I don't know why, but I
and
guess
I
people
feel like they could do so much with kind of not really spin-off seasons, but, like, almost like flashback seasons where they show us how, like different like the different groups were created,
Yeah.
and there's a lot they could do with even doing like a season focused on a backstory of this group
Yeah.
and of this, and things. But no, I like that because people don't realize how even when you read about like how they settled the West and how they did those things, they don't realize it wasn't just, "Oh, let's just jump in a wagon and we're gonna go," It's
Yeah.
nothing like that. It's so yeah, and like 1883, Taylor Sheridan
Yes.
one, that one was pretty brutal, but this one
Yeah.
blows it away. So if you
Yeah.
like 1883, definitely watch this one, but be prepared. Not
I
for the
love
faint
both
heart.
of them. I know, I love both of them because
Mhm,
I feel like, yes, they show how hard it is. It's not
mhm,
an easy life to get through. That's what made me
mhm,
appreciate so much of the life that people led,
mhm.
in the 1800s. It's like,
Yeah,
wow,
mhm,
you really to survive, you had to be really strong or really lucky,
yeah,
one of the or really brutal or something to
something,
get
yeah,
through, just like Vikings too.
yeah,
But it's like, because it's true. These things happen. Viking
yeah,
stuff happened. The West happened, right? So it's like, wow,
mhm,
it's just so interesting. So check that out on Netflix. Now, switching, I watched Disclaimer on Apple Plus TV. Have you seen this at all? Okay. It's with Kate Blanchett, and she, in a nutshell, she is like a famous journalist, if that's even her role, because
mhm,
it doesn't really end up playing a part. But she's married. She has a child, but something happened 20 years prior, and a book gets sent to her with like information in it that she doesn't want let out. But I don't want to give anything away, but things aren't always what they appear, is what I want to say. It is so well acted. It is so good. Kevin Kline is in it,
mhm,
and it's just a really it's very a little it has some scenes in there that are a little bit explicit, just a little bit, not I mean, it what I mean by a little bit is, like, it's not the whole way through
yeah,
every episode, but it happens, like, in a few
mhm,
episodes. But yeah, I'm like, "Oh, what's happening here?" Okay, but it was really good.
mhm,
Really, really good. And then for movies, I just wanna mention I did see Nosferatu. I am not a vampire movie, but this was a fantastic movie. The mood, the acting, it was really well done. Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult. I think it's Bill Skarsgård, which I think is correct, but he was so amazing in this. It's just a really, really well-made movie. I'm surprised it didn't get any Oscar noms. I really am. I'm a little bit bummed for it, but it was a good movie. And I saw A Complete Unknown
mm.
with Timothy Chalamet, and it was Timothy Chalamet. Man, so good. Really good movie because I don't know Bob Dylan that well. Sure, I know his music, but I haven't ever followed him. So it was really good to learn because it was just a segment of Bob Dylan's life, kind of like
Yeah,
the early 60s, and that's all it
mhm,
spans. And it was just really well done. All the performances were really great. And
mhm,
so it was really good at creating that again. So check out those movies, check out those recommendations, TV shows from Renee and I. But that is a wrap up on this podcast episode. Renee, thank you for joining me today.
thank you for having me. This was fun. I really enjoyed this.
I love talking with you about anything
Yeah,
but music is so much fun.
mhm,
So,
yeah,
also, I want to let you know I have all of Renee's links in the show notes. So
thank
be
you.
sure to check out. Do you want to say anything about?
Yeah, just I would love love you to come check out my stuff, and I write a lot about The Walking Dead, but I write about a lot of other things as well, and so, yeah, I would love for you guys to check out my stuff.
Yeah, yeah. She does a lot of writing. It's so good. I've mentioned this before, but it's just if you subscribe, you get like 3 articles that she's written and they're really short reads, so it's really easy. And it's not just about The Walking Dead, which we both love. It's about different actors and
Mhm.
characters and such. So it's just really great information and
Thank
just a lot of pop culture stuff in there too. So All right, friends out there, we are so thankful that you joined us. We are grateful. We hope that we said something today that resonated with you, gave you a smile, a chuckle. Please remember to subscribe to Screens in Focus at screensinfocus.com. Follow us on social media, and remember to keep watching, keep exploring, and keep those screens in focus. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.